Go.
I am Brian. We are approximately about 4 miles south of Bonner Springs. We're coming up 7 Highway. We're going to be looking back to the west at this tornado. If you're in Baser like Johnny, like y'all have been saying, or especially Bonner Springs, anywhere near Bonner Springs and Baser, you need to be prepared for a violent tornado, perhaps one that we have not seen in over a decade. You need to dress like you're going to be outside, like you're going to be stepping through debris. We don't tell you this to scare you. We tell you this because we need you to be prepared for what is likely a strong to violent tornado. There's been reports of damage all along the path. This is a long track tornado. This has the potential to leave possibly your neighborhood or your surrounding area unrecognizable. I think it's that type of a tornado. It's the kind that we drill for, that we prepare for, but we hope we never have to deal with, and unfortunately I think we're dealing with it right now. So if you're in Baser and Bonner Springs, we plead with you, please take this seriously. We have it confirmed by multiple sources, from Johnny, by radar, from us. You need to be in your tornado shelter immediately, and you need to be prepared for damage to your home or to your neighborhood, as this circulation is coming up pretty close now to Bonner Springs, south and west of Baser and Bonner Springs. Brian, I think we will be in the position to see at least power flashes as it's coming over the highways and the interstates here. We're not going to get too close to this. We want to try and keep up with it. Law enforcement is going, you know what? This might be an outstanding time to tell people, if you were planning on going west on Interstate 70 or K10, you need to stop. Do not go west out of Kansas City on Interstate 70. There will be a violent tornado crossing over the interstate in just a matter of minutes. And I think they're going to try to at least shut down that interstate west of Kansas City. You do not need to be traveling there. Baser, Bonner Springs, and then eventually up towards the airport in Parkville, northwest sides of Kansas City Metro. You need to be very aware of this tornadic storm approaching you and be ready. That's a well in advance first alert for y'all to be prepared. The environment is favorable for this tornado to continue on the ground as it runs along the warm front. Brian, we got a red light here, so we're going to stop. We're going to send things back to you.
That sounds good. I'm looking at one of the scout cameras that we have access to, which is that toll booth, that toll plaza that Johnny was talking about. And there you see the nasty wedge tornado that has been on the ground for a while, almost coming up on an hour. Is that about right? I forget when the first tornado warning is issuing the first confirmation. But here we see on first alert radar at least some of the motion of that is continuing to move to the east and northeast. And Johnny, once again, if you need to interrupt me, certainly do so. This is now once again on an east to northeast fashion. The rotation, or the couplet, is just to the south of Baser, also about ready to give that first alert out toward Edwardsville. And if it holds together, it will be eventually crossing the river and going farther to the east and to the northeast. So here we see the storm winds themselves. There's Baser, Kansas, just so you get your bearings. To the south and east of Tonganoxie, as we were talking about with Johnny. Linwood is now to the east of you, just to the west of DeSoto. So I would still say in your safe area, please, just because the rotation is there and you should be in your safe area as well. Here is that rotation that now, as far as what Pete is doing and as far as analyzing it, there you see east and northeast of Linwood, that is. That's where you see the best rotation, south and east of Tonganoxie, but still heading within this tornado emergency, which is still out for Johnson County, Wyandotte County. Leavenworth County starting to release a little bit of its grip, but that's just something to keep in mind as well. And also they are still now extending the warning now to a severe thunderstorm warning with a potential tornado, winds of at least 70 miles an hour, which will still cause damage. Hail being reported as well. That's going to be for Leavenworth, Wyandotte, and Clay County, as well as Platte. That one stays in effect until 7:30. But it's the same cell that has had a history of producing a long tracking tornado that is going down. And as you notice here, this is still holding together and really not showing much of a grip of loosening anytime soon. So we've had reports of numerous power outages. You saw the power flashes. You also saw the rotation and just the reports that are coming in here. As a matter of fact, Katie, did we still see that signature, the debris signature?
Yeah, absolutely, Brian.
Go right ahead.
Here's the latest track on our second computer system, taking where we're seeing that rotation. It would be arriving at the Legends at 7:07, Argosy at 7:25, Houston Lake up towards Parkville at 7:28. That debris signature Brian's talking about is this area in blue that you see that is just northeast of Linwood. A lot of this debris actually came from the community of Linwood. This is going to pass south of Tonganoxie and head right, it appears, towards Baser. Let me pull this back for you a little bit. There is a possibility that it could turn right before hitting Baser, but just because storms can be unpredictable, I would like you to stay in your safe shelter in Baser. Even if this does pass to your south, there would be a lot of debris flying through the air and a lot of wind associated with the inflows and outflows of this tornado. However, earlier, we heard Nick Binder say that this was getting ready to cross I-70. That appears to be happening right now. Let me switch this back over to the mode that you're familiar with that shows the rotation. And this shows it crossing over I-70 right now at about 166th Street, and it's going right over Kansas Avenue. So again, they probably, I hope, have stopped traffic north or east and west along I-70 and north on 166th Street, as that is where the rotation is being detected right now, Brian. And I'll show you once again the damage. Yeah. Just south of that location, as we catch up with the rotation, the damage reports come in a couple minutes behind them, but you can get a clear view that this is a dangerous tornado. And again, if you're in Piper, if you're at the Legends, in any of the communities in Wyandotte County, Edwardsville, please be in your safe area. I know it's very tempting to stand outside and watch this, but we have trained storm spotters doing that for you, and we also know that this storm has become rain-wrapped at times. I'll bring you back to just that comparison once again. Here's the rotation, and here's the rain.
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt there. We're seeing, first of all, the toll plaza very close to where we were talking about earlier. Nick Binder is also on the ground as well. Nick, what do you have?
Brian, it's right there behind the trees. You're going to see it here when we get out behind the trees. It's about 4 miles southwest of me. I'm just north of Bonner Springs at the intersection of 7 Highway and Interstate 70. We're looking back to the south and the west. Brian, this is going to come so close to Bonner Springs. If you're in Bonner Springs, you need to be in your tornado shelter immediately. I think it is just up beyond those trees. I think that is the large wall cloud, and I do think that we're going to be able to see this. I don't think this is going to be rain wrapped. Jim, you keep pulling up here. You get me up here just so we can spot back here to the left. Brian, this is coming into Bonner Springs. It's going to come up over Interstate 70. Do not travel west out of Kansas City on Interstate 70 right now. There's a violent tornado that's going to be coming up right over the interstate in a few minutes. So stop at the Speedway. Do not go west of the Speedway. This is also going to be coming pretty close to the Speedway as it lifts between Bonner Springs and Interstate 70, comes into the Legends, the Speedway, and then it's going to go out into the north sides of KCK and then possibly up to Parkville. So you're looking, that is a very large wall cloud, and back to the left there is going to be that, hang on, we might be able to, Jim, can you pull me up here?
I'm trying to get
just cross up there into the front here. Hang on, we're going to get up here on some higher ground. Okay, Turner, there it is right there. Brian, a little bit to the left, Turner. A little bit, yeah, a little bit to the left. That's it right back there. Look at the rising motion into that. Brian, that's your tornado. It's sitting right back there beyond the tree line. That is a violent tornado. That is, let me give you my location, 3.5 miles to my southwest, or in reference from Bonner Springs, this is going to be about 4 miles to the west of Bonner Springs. It's going to be coming up over the highway in Interstate 70. It could be just north of Bonner Springs. So if you're between Baser and Bonner Springs, near Interstate 70, yeah, go ahead and move, Jim. Tornado shelters immediately. Brian, I can confirm that tornado. Violent rotation. You just saw it here from Storm Tracker 9. We're moving to Children's Mercy Park and the Legends to spot this as it comes into the Northland. Again, this tornado will have the intensity to destroy what could even be well-built homes. I think that is within the realm of possibility and what we need to prepare for. You need to be dressed in sturdy shoes. You need to have helmets. A lot of the injuries and deaths with tornadoes are caused by head injuries. So please, it's not a joke.
Johnny, let me go to you. Johnny, so sorry, Nick, thank you so much.
Go.
This is a tornado on the ground at about K32 and 158th. That's 4 miles west of Bonner. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, it looks like, Brian, and I want to confirm this here. We're going to go ahead and pull back all the way for me, Pat. We are over Bonner right now, and That is the tornado we're looking at to the south and west. Here is the northern side of Bonner. The very far west part of Bonner Springs may be in jeopardy, but it looks like the rest this is proceeding to the north. Now, I want to show you this, and we'll go ahead and zoom in on that cloud right there that you see, and this is what we were talking about, the inflow to this tornado. Watch those clouds as they are literally being pulled into the rotation from this tornado. And they are, and stop right there, Pat. They are moving rapidly, and then look down to the left. That is where we see the rotation from the tornado. It is rain-wrapped again, and we have not seen a lot of power flashes. And we have not really seen the tornado. In fact, zoom right in there to the right there, Pat, and let's see if that might have been what part of the tornado. Nope, that could be. But we're still seeing plenty of rotation in the clouds. Again, it's been on again, off again when we can spot this. So right now, it looks as though it has passed to the west of Bonner Springs, getting ready to cross I-70. That would also mean that if it keeps its current track, it would most likely pass to the west of the Speedway. Baser, however, it could still be in the path of this. It's like, and we'll pull back a little bit more. Look at that rotation. Look at the way that it's pulling that air in there, and just off screen to the left, and where it's buried in the rain, is where that tornado has been on the ground. Now, we have not seen it on the ground in a while, and I'm wondering if that is just a wall cloud we're seeing now. But regardless, we have to treat this as though it is a tornado on the ground, and I believe it is going to be there just a little bit back further into the rain. So we're showing you the live pictures of this tornado that started to the south and west of Lawrence, tracked all the way through there. We believe on the ground the entire time, and it was really north of Lawrence before we could actually spot it through the rain, and then it became very evident that it was a very wide and destructive tornado. We'll go a little bit further to the right. Have yet to see the tornado in that rain now, but we are definitely keeping our close eye on that, and it could certainly still be buried a little bit further in, and still that unbelievable inflow you can see pulling those clouds from the north side of the storm in an area where we would just not expect to see it at all, which just confirms there are no rules with tornadoes, and this is a classic example. Still take cover, and this is a dangerous situation. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, there. Thank you, Johnny. So we're still trying to zoom it in to neighborhood by neighborhood. So this is the latest storm track that we have on there. Edwardsville, a new city that we've not mentioned before, but this is where you see the signature itself, inbound next to outbound. That's got to be spinning it around. 706. Remember that tornado emergency goes into effect until 7:15, and so these are some of the cities that are still involved. Houston Lake, Riverside, if it holds together as it crosses farther on the Missouri side. So this is in the Kansas City metro. You can't really emphasize that enough, and certainly it was in the metro for that matter, as it was just east of Lawrence, getting toward Eudora and other areas as well. Liberty, if it holds together now, mind you, this has been a long tracking tornado for a while. No guarantee that it'll continue in that way, but you see some of the cities involved. You can also see what we call the shear path, and this is now, oh, you're fine, with the debris. So this is showing you that this tornado must have been chewing up a lot of things. Raindrops have a different shape to the radar, but debris from building materials, 2x4s, 2x8s, drywall, any sort of object, that's what the radar is picking up on, and that's what we're seeing here. Very close to Grandview on the Kansas side. Bonner Springs is right there. Please be in your safe area. Weather system 1, please, just to look at the rotation. And there you see, once again, there's Providence Medical Center Amphitheater. It used to be sandstone, so you know that. Here you see Bonner Springs there. So the circulation or that rotation is pretty much right over the city itself. You need to be in your safe area right now and continuing to be at least hunkered down for a while longer until this rotation starts to pass you by. We also have Storm Tracker 9, and Nick Bender's trying to get to a bigger or larger vantage point so he can still see exactly what's going on. But the thing that I was struck by with Johnny Rollins and News Chomper 9 and Storm Tracker 9 was how much inflow. This thing is just pulling a lot of that warmer air into itself. That is an indication as to how strong the updraft is. Also an indication why this storm just didn't drop for a few minutes and then lift right back up. This is now going through what, 3 counties, 4 counties, without showing much signs of weakening at all. So this is in the middle, if not the high range of the rotation that we see here that's just still clipping Bonner Springs and going farther to the east. So we definitely want to let you know that this tornado emergency for Leavenworth, Wyandotte, and Johnson counties continues for a while. You have a storm track? Go ahead, Katie, please. Go ahead.
Gate to gate, 93 towards 55 miles mile/an-hour away, that would put this in an EF3 category. It still remains, for the officials to go in and look at it, but that's the type of tornado that we're tracking for you right now.
Doppler radar can show which raindrops are heading toward or away. That's the couplet we talk about. And then we can measure the velocity, how fast those raindrops are heading. That's where you get what we call gate to gate, without getting too technical. That's how we tell exactly how strong the winds are being circulated around the storm itself. As you see here, it is south of the amphitheater. There's the speedway, and I said that Nick was going to head closer and closer to the Legends itself. That's where we're probably going to see his picture coming through now. And I'm hearing Johnny's chatter. I don't know if he has anything. Go ahead, please.
Yes,
Johnny,
yeah,
go
Brian,
for
we're
it.
going to show you where we're going to show you right now. There's Kansas Speedway. That is the tornado that we have been watching that appears as though we're not sure. So those of you in the Legends, in shops here, most everyone who is outside or out of their home here should be taking cover, as well as, of course, those communities that are just to the west of the Legends, some new residential developments over there as well. We're going to go ahead and zoom in. We have
Katie?
I
Is that
do.
on two?
I'm looping it over 30 minutes. What I was noticing was kind of a broadening in the rotation. This is just a part of the cycle of the tornado. It is still, from what I understand and what we can see, making contact with the ground. It is at about 2 miles from the intersection. Let me even measure that to be clear.
Katie,
I don't even want to assume.
Looks
Go
like
ahead,
Nick is
Brian.
there. I'm sorry. He's got ground truth. Go ahead, Nick. What do you have?
Hey, Brian, we're about 3 miles southwest of this. We're sitting just behind Johnny. We're out near the speedway. You're looking south and west. There's just tremendous rising and rotating motions. It almost looks like the whole sky in front of me is just rotating. I still think that this is in progress. It's over Bonner Springs right now. You're Bonner Springs, you're out of time. This is right over you. This is going to be coming over the speedway. Yeah, Jim, you're good to use. And Brian, just to echo what you're saying, to see the National Weather Service pleading that it's a life-threatening situation and asking us to use the strongest language possible to get people in your shelter. If the pictures and the words we're using right now in the video that you're seeing right now from Storm Tracker 9 Turner, this is going to be right off the hood. As we turn to the right, just kind of pan to the right at 3. The leading edge of that rotation. There's a tornado sitting back in there, Brian. And I think it's going to continue to come in here through the Northland. You need to be in your tornado shelters. Brian, we're moving east on 70. Send it back to you.
Okay, and as we mentioned, we needed a front, a focusing mechanism, and we talked about in the afternoon briefing with the newsroom that it was going to be difficult to see if the storm could overcome the clouds that we had, and the front was just so strong to pretty much focus that one thunderstorm. That's sometimes what happens. You only get 1 or 2 within a huge tornado watch area. But this one certainly means business. This is now the rotation. You see now at least the heaviest is east of Bonner Springs, going to clip the north side of Edwardsville. There's the speedway, which is where we see Johnny in tandem with Storm Tracker 9 here. But this is not showing many signs of weakening. A little broadener. But Nick, go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Brian, I have rapidly rotating rain curtains. At 3 o'clock, this is going to be straight south of the speedway. That's either, hang on, I need to get clear of the trees here. Yeah, it's very evident that I have rotating rain curtains. That's just a sign of a very strong rotation. I think the tornado is just sitting back to our south and west. It's coming through Bonner Springs and it's moving directly towards the speedway. If you are near the speedway, you need to be taking your tornado precautions immediately. The rotation that I'm seeing with the rain curtains is violent. And I do think it may be sitting back in the rain now, and it's rain wrapped again. It may be tough to see it. Johnny may have the best vantage point. He's flying right over me right now on Interstate 70, just ahead of me. I think this is going to be back into the rain, rotating rain curtain. So that's the tornadic circulation pulling the rain all the way around and kind of covering itself up with a cloak. It makes it incredibly difficult to spot. Sometimes the only indications that we have are the power flashes it does when it moves through towns, and it just went through Bonner Springs. I haven't checked the debris product yet in a while to see if it is still producing damage. I'm just switched over to it right now. It doesn't look like it's as strong, but I do think that's the tornado. I think it's on the ground still, Brian. We'll send it back to you.
Alrighty there, Katie's been doing a little analysis there with the latest storm track, because we do want to update which communities are now right in the path. Katie, go ahead.
Wyandotte County spotters, multiple vortices.
I heard what Nick said, multiple vortices, Wyandotte County spotters there, but go ahead, Katie.
All right, we'll take you back to our links to computer, a note to the director. Confirming what Nick was showing you, this storm is between the Kansas Speedway and Edwardsville. It has a broad rotation right now, but there's still 110 mile per hour shear on this storm, still rotating very strong. And as Nick pointed out, those rain curtains wrapping around. You're looking at the wind here. Let me show you the rain. See how the rain is kind of filled in with that. Now, as I pull this out, this had a classic hook signature with it. I'll put you back on the part that shows you where the tornado is. And now let me do a storm track for you on this. It is starting to turn a little bit to the east, so I'm going to broaden this path a little bit more towards the east-northeast. That still puts this towards Parkville. It's been consistent with this messaging at about 726. But for everybody in Wyandotte County on the inside of the 435 loop, you need to be in your safe shelter right now. There's just no time for you to be outside watching this storm. Within Wyandotte County, inside the 435 loop. This will be at the Argosy Casino at 728, Riverside at 729.
I just want to do a little housekeeping there. Whenever possible, let's put the storm track as the most prominent thing since it is moving. I know Johnny's pictures are compelling, and if he has new information, that'd be great. But that storm track that you had was on our Weather 2 system, if we can. The rotation itself is now between the Speedway and Edwardsville. But just to repeat what Katie was talking about with regard to those estimated times of arrival for some of those communities, there you see at KCK Community College at 7:15, Kansas City proper, at least on the Kansas side, at 7:26, Park University crossing over as well, and then Argosy Casino, she mentioned 728, Riverside as well. So here is that circulation, a tight ball that is still there, showing no signs of weakening, but Edwardsville is right in the midst of that. Bonner Springs, it's easing you, but hopefully did not scar you too badly. And also, as you notice here, we're looking at the debris signature.
I'm going to loop this, Brian.
Go ahead.
I'm going to loop it so you can see the trend.
What that is going to show is where, once again, as I talked about, the tornado picks up just a lot of building material, and certainly it was stronger when it was near Linwood, weaving a little bit, but this thing has already had a history of being alive for more than an hour or two, so there's no indication that it is definitely going to be done. As a matter of fact, I think they issued a new severe thunderstorm tornado warning they have, so this is now out for, let me just get off screen for just a second. This is for Johnson, Wyandotte, Clay, Jackson, Platte County until 8 p.m. This is moving east at 30 miles per hour, so we should probably do that latest tornado storm track. Pete, do you have that one there? This is now going to be on Weather 1, please. This is going to be showing you that rotation in the newest storm track, which, Pete, will be on the right side. There it is. Notice how they've now included other communities here in this tornado warning. And it's not a tornado emergency quite yet, but they're still saying it is at least warranting that we are now going right through the heart of the city itself. Moving east, it was at 35, 40 miles an hour there, 30. There we see some of the cities involved, and we may want to increase the duration of this just to see who's involved and where it's going here. But this is heading toward downtown. The bottom's at about 725, downtown airport at 726, Crossroads also at about 727, Penn Valley Park also at about 727 as well. This is the new tornado warning, and this one stays in effect, which unfortunately the signature is rain wrap, which makes it more difficult to see, but stays in effect until 8 o'clock. So this is still on the Kansas side, but still tracking its way toward the Missouri River, toward the Kaw, and heading, once again, mainly toward Kansas City, downtown, close to Kemper, close to some of those other landmarks that we're very familiar with. And once again, that is the signature that's been out for a while. I am going to throw it over to Katie for just 1 second. I do want to check one more thing with this storm track, and then we'll get back to maybe the winds that are going on as well. Because at one time it looked like EF3 winds at least over 100 miles an hour, estimated by radar, that is.
Okay, the Doppler with the new tornado warning that is in effect for northern Jackson County, northern Johnson County, southern parts of Wyandotte, Platte, and Clay, that goes until 8 o'clock. If that continues moving in an east direction instead of a northeast direction, it would be in Roland Park at 727, Westwood Hills Hills at 7:29, downtown Kansas City at 7:29, the KU Med Center at 7:30. I want to loop this though so that we can see if it is indeed making this right-hand turn. And you can see it is. And one of the other things I'm noting, and this could just simply be a cycle in the storm, but it appears to me that the rotation is weakening somewhat. Again, this could just be a temporary time in the cycle of this storm. Nick saw the rain curtain wrapping around. Sometimes that cooler air kind of destabilizes the storm a bit, but it can get its bearings again. It's working into very soupy air. Our dew point was 72 degrees in downtown Kansas City. That's a lot of fuel, a lot of moisture in the air. So I don't want us to take our guard down at all. I'm just pointing out that this is a phase in the storm where the rotation is not as tightly wrapped as it was when it moved through Linwood, when it moved over Bonner. It appears now that it's inside the 435 loop to kind of be in a change phase, and we'll hope that this is an indication that it's just going to continue to weaken, but there's no guarantee of that. Storms often do weaken and then strengthen again, so we won't have you get out of your storm shelters quite yet. I will take a look at some of the other data parameters that we use to analyze the strength of the storm. The storm debris signature also, thankfully right now, is not as strong as it was when it moved through Linwood just north of DeSoto. That's a good sign. Now we'll look at the rain with this storm. Where it had a clearly defined hook over Linwood, it doesn't quite have that same signature now. Another good sign. Another thing I want to look at, we haven't looked at this in a while, is the hail. And it's showing the hail core north of the rotation. The hail core is getting ready to cross the Missouri River up near Parkville. So this is going to head up towards Weatherby Lake, Parkville. You'll get some hail. It looks like the strongest rotation, though, is south of the hail core. So when you hear the hail coming, know that the rotation part of the storm is just a little bit south of that. So we'll show you where that rotation is. Yeah, to me, this is a really good sign. This is a sign that the storm center is expanding somewhat. However, the tornado warning continues for another 45 minutes. Let me show you where that tornado warning is. And to put that into perspective, it cuts through Wyandotte County, southern Platte County, southwestern Clay County, northwestern Jackson County until 8 o'clock. That's the tornado warning. All of the counties in orange are under a tornado watch. This is currently the only storm that we have. I will confirm that. I do want to just bring the radar out a bit and change it back to the rain mode. And we'll just take a look. I know you're getting heavy rain in Trenton, and you're getting quite a bit of lightning with this storm throughout our northern communities as we look south of I-70, just to make sure there's nothing sneaking up on us. There is a line of storms north of Joplin that weakened as it crossed the state line, so that's good news. So the storm that we have been micro-focused on in Wyandotte County is the most intense storm around. We'll take another look at the rotation in that storm and see how we're doing now at this time. I'm going to turn that lightning back off because it just interferes with what you're looking at. We've got meteorologist Nick Bender tracking this storm. We've got Johnny Rollins in the sky. Chief meteorologist Brian Busby is consulting with meteorologist Pete Grigsby right now, and I'm bringing you the latest radar information on where this storm is showing rotation. And I want to just do some street level maps for you so that you can see what's going on. Johnny, while I prepare that street level map, what can you tell us?
We're at 635 right now at K5, right by the Missouri River Bridge, 635, and looking off to the west now, and it's taken on a completely different look here, almost like we had a cell develop to the north and east here. I think it gave the impression of turning to the right. I'm wondering if something didn't just kind of develop out ahead of that. Now, we did have some pretty strong winds still associated with that we saw and had to kind of get away from, as Nick was talking about that rain that was being wrapped around those rain sheets. Really circulating, but we're over here a little bit too far away to tell you that, and really nothing as defined as what we saw a while ago either, so we just can't tell you whether or not we have that still on the ground behind here. Certainly this is kind of what we dealt with when we first got when we were first working this scene and working this tornado. We just couldn't see it at all. We're going to go a little bit to the left and show one more rain shaft here as we continue a little further. and it's going to be right there. Let's go ahead and come down a little bit with the iris there, Pat. And maybe a little bit heavier rain there, but we're, again, unable to discern any kind of specific rotation here, as that tornado could be completely covered and blocked by the rain. We just don't have any view of it whatsoever. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, a couple of things. We have the sirens going off in Independence. We have the sirens going off also in the Riverside area. KCI is decided to have their people go to their safe area, evacuating if you will, but still in a safe shelter. And some of the flights, as you would imagine, have been diverted or in a holding pattern. That going up at KCI, just one other thing to mention there. This is now a new fresh storm track because it is moving due east. So as you notice here, downtown airport in about 10 minutes or so, North Kansas City at 7:35, Harris at 7:37, and Ameristar at 7:43, still under that tornado warning until 8 o'clock, mainly for Wyandotte County, Jackson County, portions of Platte and Clay, and going farther out to the east. Once again, it's pretty much the entire Kansas City metropolitan area until 8 o'clock or so. Although the rotation is not as strong as it was, at one time we had wind estimates over 100 miles an hour. Now they're closer to 50 or 60, but right now it's still showing the indications of holding together and at least has the rotation associated with it. So yeah, and I'm still looking at some of the reports still coming through here that we do have confirmed tornado reports that are coming through. What I'm doing is looking at a screen over here that is definitely showing what all the spotters out in the field are saying, what the meteorologists are saying at the National Weather Service, what we're seeing on radar, and we're relaying our reports there as well. So this is still at least going to be out for about another 40 minutes or so. That is the tornado warning that is out pretty much for the Kansas City Metro. Johnny Rollins, News Chopper 9, I know is still out in the field as well. Nick Bender is trying to get to a higher vantage point. Let me throw to Nick for one quick second because I want to check one more unconfirmed report. Certainly don't want to pass that along. Go ahead, Nick.
All right, Brian, we are moving through Riverside right now. I thought I heard the sirens going off here, but we are trying to get to a higher vantage point. At this time, just from a radar presentation, it does look like the rotation has shown a significant sign in weakening, but we still need everybody there across the Northland, from Parkville to Riverside to Gladstone and Avondale, all the way out to Claycomo and Pleasant Valley, to be ready to take shelter or be in your shelters right now, because this environment is favorable for re-intensification. Sometimes these storms cycle, they go through life cycles, and they can produce another tornado. And with the type of conditions that we have, that process could happen rapidly. We could see a real fast ramp up of this storm, and it could put down a tornado within the 435 loop across the Northland. So this is a dangerous situation still. We don't want you to drop your guard. We want you to be in your safe place. If you're within that tornado warning, within that polygon that we've been talking about, that would be the Northland, Riverside, all the way up into, I would say, Gladstone, Claycomo, Pleasant Valley, Liberty. Everybody there just needs to be in their safe place, in their shelter, should this storm produce another large tornado inside the loop, Brian, across the Northland. We'll send it back to you.
There. So things are still progressing in that we are still updating you. Damage reports are coming in. We're sending a lot of our reporters out for that side of the story, but still we have on First Alert Live radar the tornado warning that's out mainly for the Missouri side now than the Kansas side. However, the latest report has the tornado confirmed on the ground near Lake Quivira. Okay, and it's still moving east at about 35 miles an hour. So it's picked up in speed. So at one time it was east at 30, now it's picking up to 30 and 35 miles an hour. That will certainly change the mathematics as to the estimated times of arrival there. But this is First Alert Live radar. Here is the shape. You can see the leading edge, if you will, of that severe thunderstorm. Now a tornado warning that goes in effect for Jackson County, southern portions of Clay County, a little portion of Platte County, just now Wyandotte County, but clearing pretty much most of Johnson County. It looks like the Weather Service is going to clear you because the circulation is north of your state line there, or your county line. And I hear that the sirens are going off in Independence. And right now you're right on the fringes, but at this point in time, because it could wave just a little bit, not a bad plan to make sure you're in your safe area too. Here's the rotation, and it has gone back up to moderate that you see there. So we've gotten rid of every other color there, so you can just see the portion of the storm that has produced the tornado and continues to do so. And Katie just shared with me, it's been on the ground for 2 hours. It started near Lawrence, and now you see where it is, western Wyandotte County, southern Platte County, and did not even lift up once at all. And it estimates with the radar at least EF3, a possibility there. So Parkville down to about I-70 on the Kansas side, and still moving to the east at about 30 or 35. They have issued a severe thunderstorm warning to include more of Platte County, more of Clay County, but this is the storm that produced the tornado. So although it's a severe thunderstorm warning, they are definitely saying it had the potential, it still may. And once again, this is heading into heavily populated areas. And the other thing I should mention is that the winds have been every bit of 65 or 70 miles per hour, sometimes without the circulation of the tornado itself. So you can still see some gusty winds that are out there. Katie, go ahead.
This is my neighborhood, so I know it
Sure,
well. Let me
sure.
help my neighbors through this storm. This is rotating right now over the YMCA of Parkville, right at the intersection of 64th Street and Highway 9, right there by Braces by Billings, and the Quick Trip is across the street. That's where the rotation is right now. It's approaching Weatherby Lake, Lake Wacomas. It's going to cross over I-29. This is the route a lot of people take up towards KCI. We've heard that people have taken shelter at KCI. Now, the rotation does not look as intense as it did earlier, but with spotters still reporting wall clouds and possible contact with the ground, we want you in your safe shelter. So this is Parkville. This is the National. This is Kansas City North. This is the area where it kind of turns into Gladstone. This is it's a little bit north of the track that hit in the one that went into Carriage Hills. Chris Ketz is looking at me, nodding his head. So this is just north of that path, but it is very similar. A lot of those people, a lot of us remember that tornado very well. So I wanted to give you that street level mapping that this storm is in Parkville, and it's heading now up Highway 9. This is going to continue heading towards Park Hill High School, between Park Hill High School and Lake Wacomas. My children are in this area. They're with their father, so we asked them, hope they know better. They should be down in their basement. Thankfully, I will show you what the wind speeds, what Doppler is estimating the strong wind speeds are on this storm. So it's about 70 mile an hour rotation with this storm. It's less than what it was earlier, but what Brian and I and Nick and everybody who's experienced with tracking tornadoes, we know that they can cycle down and then cycle back up. So we just want you to remember that this is under an area that's under a tornado warning. Let me track this rotation for you. And Brian, if you'll allow me just a moment, I want to loop this for 30 minutes just to see if it has indeed turned more right or if it's still on a northeast track. And to me, that feels like an east to northeast track. So that's the track I'd like to put on this. I'm going to draw it a little broad just in case it turns again. Approximately 35 miles an hour. Park Hill High School. I showed you it's coming right up the road there towards Berry Road. Platte Woods, Zona Rosa, Lake Wacomas, all between now and 7:30. If it continues to track over to the other side of 435, it would be in Liberty at about 7:50. The tornado warning is set to expire at 8 p.m. If they continue the warning into Clay County and then next over towards Carroll County, we'll let you know, Brian.
So that's, again, the circulation that's showing up there, and we're gathering some of the information coming in from the spotters. I'm going to actually go over to the Weather Center if I can. Pete, did you see anything or do you have anything? I know that you were definitely interrogating that storm. Was there something?
No, I'm just tracking it again to see that the path's going to take it along. If it holds together, it'll be put in the path of like North Kansas City, Argosy Casino, Gladstone even for that. And I kind of put a broad band on this because you have that huge line of thunderstorms anyway. But no, I mean, it looks like it's holding together, and your shear marker is
it's still there.
Yeah.
So there are surrounding the tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's just part of the reason why it may not be on the ground now, but it has had a history of cycling through. So that's what you see there with that rotation. That's actually Pete with the mouse there, and the heaviest rotation, as Katie was so well at putting it by neighborhood, because that's exactly how we give directions, right? We say go 2 blocks here, turn left at the Walmart. That's how we give directions. So certainly when you talk about neighborhood by neighborhood, that's very valuable information. There's the city of Parkville. There you see 6:35. So it is about to cross the Missouri River and go farther to the east and northeast. Remember, the sirens are already sounding in Riverside. The sirens may be sounding still in Independence because northern portions of Jackson County were also under this tornado warning until 9 o'clock. Or 8 o'clock, correction, until 8 o'clock, that was the tornado warning. And Nick Bender was also still looking at this. The latest indication now is that the severe thunderstorm capable of producing the tornado, now near Kansas City, Kansas, moving east at 30 miles an hour. So it's changed its direction and its speed again, now at 30 miles an hour. And so we'll continue with the storm tracks as well. But suffice it to say, if you're in the path of this cell, as it is now crossing from Wyandotte County into southern Platte County and eventually heading toward Clay County, you definitely have to be in your safe area as well. Nick has been doing a good analysis as well. I think, Nick, last I heard you were going toward the Legends. I'm sure you've changed your vantage point by now. Nick.
We have, Brian. We're actually heading toward Gladstone, so we're trying to get east here to get out ahead of this thunderstorm. I think it's running right along the warm front and pretty close to the warm front, so we really have to watch it. A lot of the times these types of storms and this type of an environment can really just spin right back up again. So we are following it here across the Northland here, moving toward Gladstone and Pleasant Hill. That's where we're kind of going. My idea is to get to Liberty. We're going to need to get gas here pretty soon, but at this time I'm not seeing anywhere near the violent rotation in the clouds or the tornado that we had when this was coming in to the speedway. Brian, we're going to get some gas here and then we're going to continue to the east. We'll send it back to you.
Okay, we've also have a lot of our reporters that are out in the field. I think Matt Fleener is involved with our coverage. He's close to Smithville. Matt, let me throw it to you while we're still gathering information back to what the storm has already done. Matt.
Yeah, that's right. Brian. I'll be real quick. But we are just south of Smithville right now. We're right at the Vineyard Church, right at 169 and 435. And I want to show you, I don't know if you can see this debris in the road right here, but we've been seeing all kinds of debris that's been flying up in the air up here on the north loop of 435. You hear the tornado sirens going off again up here in Clay County. But yeah, we've seen all kinds of debris. We've headed over from Platte City, from KTI, and we saw debris flying around in the air. We wanted to get on the north side of the storm as it marched over toward the Northland. But yeah, I just wanted to report that, yeah, we have seen debris coming through the air, Brian.
Thank you there, Matt. You just threw it to me, and I appreciate that. I do want to give a fresh storm track, and looking at where the debris signature is, looking at where the rotation is, I don't want to overstep my bounds, and I'm certainly going to confer with the National Weather Service, but it appears that the heaviest of the rotation is now east of Wyandotte County, so maybe you can ease up a little bit, unfortunately, and take assessment as to what happened damage-wise, since this thing has been on the ground for about 2 hours, and you saw where it's going near Baser, near Bonner Springs, farther out to the west. So I'm thinking that since the back edge of the tornado warning is still there, but here's where you see the rotation. So 635 and westward in Wyandotte County, it looks like at least the most dangerous part of the storm has passed you by, and now it's focused from Parkville going through Wyandotte County, at least not too far away from KCK, and then moving farther to the east. This is one of our city view cameras over downtown, and this is going to be the storm that is producing the tornado warning. And you also hear some of our buzzers going off. That is for a flash flood warning that continues, because at one time earlier, Albany was surrounded by water. There was a flash flood emergency up there. Okay, and so that is the other part of our story. And before I get to the anchors, because I know that Laura and Chris have some information there, let me go to there. And there's where you see now, it was just for the northern tier of Missouri, but now it includes most of the Kansas City metro for the heavy rain and farther to the south and southwest. So we'll continue to get those reports coming in from the field. Still a tornado warning out for Jackson County, small part of Platte County, and also Clay counties right in there, very close to downtown. There's another weather myth busted that a tornado or possible tornado can't hit a downtown area. We'll tell that to this one that's still on the ground, at least showing that rotation. Severe thunderstorm warning for that same area because it has had a history of producing a tornado, and the severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect as well over the northern tier. Chris. Laura.
All right, real quick, and take it back whenever you have to. We're getting reports of damage, especially on the south side of Lawrence, Kansas, and just a little bit to the south of the city in what are probably rural parts of Douglas County as well. We're getting reports of damage in the Linwood, Kansas area as well. 59 highway south of Lawrence, part of it is shut down because of an overturned semi. There was structure damage to a house at 166th and Stillwell in the Bonner Springs area. And again, we have crews headed to Lawrence right now because it would appear as if that may be some of the most severe damage, at least in terms of the early reports that we're seeing right now.
South of Lawrence at 206th Street and K32 is where they are reporting that there are some houses damaged there. Lawrence police have been very active on Twitter. They basically were accounting for all of their officers at one point. The tornado warning has subsided for that area, but they're out now scouting the damage in and around. South of Lawrence seems to be the place where there is concentrated damage, but we have also heard that on I-70, just west of Bonner Springs, signs are mangled and torn to shreds. Trees have been uprooted in that area. These are all the areas where Nick Bender and Johnny Rollins have been above throughout the evening, and now our crews are getting in there and figuring out whether people are safe and what kind of damage there is to report.
And we're hearing of sirens going off, obviously, in Platte County, especially north of the river, downtown, up in Liberty and Clay County, in Waldo, in Brookside, places that you wouldn't necessarily think something like this would be happening, but it is that kind of a storm. Katie?
The storm has weakened, but it could re-strengthen, and that's why you're still hearing the tornado sirens, because they want you to be in a safe place in case it should spin up a tornado again. On our Doppler radar and our storm wind on Lynx 2, you can see the very broad rotation between Parkville and Gladstone. To put this into perspective, let me just draw you back in time. I'm just going to take you back 2 hours, and you'll watch this storm as it comes up just south of Lawrence, right there, over Linwood, crosses the Missouri River. Right at the speedway, it starts to weaken. So that was the length of 2 hours on that storm track. And it, again, very strong in northern Douglas County, southern Leavenworth County, northwestern Johnson County. And that's where they will be doing storm surveys. The first thing they're going to do is make sure everybody is accountable, everybody is found and is safe. So what they ask is that you do not go sightseeing right now. Do not get in your car and go look for this damage. They have experts who are trained, first responders, to go and help people get out of the debris and get them to a safe place. Now back to our current situation. We're with this storm now inside the 435 loop. It appears to be centered between Parkville and Gladstone. I'm going to stop the radar here, and notice the rotation is very broad, but there still is rotation in this storm. I also wanted just to show you where the hail is as I switch it over to our hail mode. The hail has decreased considerably, so that's another good sign. And back to the radar mode, we're still getting rain. It's coming down at the rate of about 1 inch to 2 inches an hour, so we have that flash flooding concern because of that very heavy rain. I can show you that swath as well of the rain that has just come down in the past 3 hours, ranging from 1 to 2 inches just north of the circulation of the tornado. Brian.
Now I'm just looking at some of the reports that are coming in here, and there's numerous reports of damage, houses, trees, power outages. So this is a tornado that was on the ground for 2 hours straight, maybe lifting for the time being, but still I'm looking toward probably, I'm just going to, if you can go to the rotation for one quick second, I did want to collect my thoughts. And I just want to show that it is still there and is still not just on the lower end of this. Thank you that the booth is on it. Here you see that rotation, which is just north of Riverside, heading farther to the east and northeast. There's Gladstone. So this is the part of the cell, a little wider, a little broader, but still just as intense. Maybe not the 100 plus miles an hour we had earlier, been down to about 70, whittled down, but still, when you think of a hurricane at 74 mile an hour winds. So certainly dangerous, and certainly this has the history of producing the tornado and certainly has the capability of causing even wind damage as well. So the tornado warning, or at least the portion of the cell that's still the most questionable, is now pretty much on the Missouri side than on the Kansas side. So with decent confidence, I can say that at least KCK and certainly out toward Bonner and Baser, you're in the clear from this. But now you see the storm track with other estimated times of arrival. And what we've done is we've inputted the forward movement, which has changed, and its direction, which has changed. So here you have the latest. Gladstone, if it holds together, at 739. Pleasant Valley at 747. Liberty, Missouri at 755, still underneath that tornado warning that stays in effect until 8 o'clock. That's true. They just canceled the tornado warning. Okay, so now it looks like we are with a severe thunderstorm warning. Are they thinking that it is going to still produce at least the wind portion of it, or hail? Actually, I'm just doing a little inside baseball here, talking to Katie and Pete and my colleagues, and Laura and Chris are also getting some of those reports there. So right now it's appearing that at least the heaviest of the rainfall is now between Gladstone and Parkville. The potential for the hail is still there, but maybe not quite as organized as it was. And out the corner of my eye, I'm still now looking at some of the reports that are coming in here. So what we're trying to do now is let you know that at least the storm itself weakening a little bit, but not quite as organized as it was. Still tracking toward Liberty, Glen Eyre, and some other well-populated areas. Worlds of Fun, I'm not sure if they have folks still out there with the park, but you know, that's right in the path of the cell that's still producing some gusty wind potential. And it still has a bit of a notch, maybe not quite as pronounced as it was, but that is definitely something that we're going to continue to watch and monitor. Also want to talk to the booth while speaking to you at home. I know we have Matt Fleener up in the Smithville area. Have we heard from William Joy yet? Not yet for him. How about, let's see, Brian Johnson? Not as of yet.
Brian,
so
I'll be happy to go back for 2 hours and show you the storm path.
That sounds good. Go ahead there. And also, I'm sorry, Laura wants to say something. Go ahead, Laura.
Downtown, they have suspended the streetcar service because of the situation down there. And we're also hearing that there's debris falling from the sky near Smithville Lake, which kind of goes with exactly where you guys have been tracking this latest storm.
And the other thing is, I hear we have a power outage map as well. So as he says, it's shifting a little bit from the damage of the storm itself to some of what it has caused. And there you see a wide swath there. And as you see there, Chris and Laura, that is pretty much a good portion of, not too, south of Lawrence, where we're seeing those power outages there and sporadic as you get closer. And that makes sense because as Katie was loading up, going back 2 hours worth of it, and that's where the storm started, and that's where it is right now. So, Katie, I'll turn it over to you to do that. That's going to be on your System 2, correct? Is that
correct. And so as I prepare that for you, right here is where the tornado started, near Overbrook. What you're looking for is the bright green and the bright red. See, as it came up just south of Clinton, and then as it came up to Lawrence, it hit the south side of Lawrence, crossed between Lawrence and Eudora. That's when it hit Linwood. Watch as it crosses the Arkansas River, stretches across southern parts of Leavenworth County, paralleling I-70 for a short time. Then it crosses I-70 just about right when it reaches the turnpike, the toll booth, and then as it crosses 435, when it arrives at the speedway out by the Legends, the circulation weakens, it loosens up. However, we still had reports of spotters showing a tornado near Lake Quivira. So even though it was weakening, it was still showing some signs of rotation. Now the tornado warning has been allowed to cancel 20 minutes early. There is still a broad area of rotation between Gladstone and approaching Kearney. This is kind of on the northeast corner of 435. It's not producing a tornado, but it will produce very gusty winds. I will also show you that the rain is coming down quite heavily in this area. And one more aspect of any type of thunderstorm, there is a lot of lightning. So for many reasons, we ask that you just stay inside, let this whole storm system pass by. They don't anticipate that it's going to reform a tornado, but it could still produce very gusty winds and flooding rains. Remember that there is a flash flood warning in effect for all of these counties: Jefferson, Douglas, Leavenworth, Wyandotte, Johnson, Jackson, and Clay, and Platte, and Clinton, Donovan. All these counties that are lit in red. There is water that has risen very quickly in the streams and creeks, and some of it is flowing over the roadways. We are approaching dusk, and it soon will be dark. And as these waters continue to rise, as they work down hills and into the rivers and streams, some of these streams will rise even though the rain has stopped. So flash flooding will be a concern through the evening, and a flood warning warning continues along the rain has stopped. So flash flooding will be a concern through the evening, and a flood warning continues along the rain or severe weather events throughout our viewing area. One more time, let me put this into motion for you. This is just the rain, and what it shows you is that the storm structure has loosened quite a bit. It's no longer producing a tornado, but it's still capable of producing wind gusts over 58 miles per hour. I will check for you. I don't believe it has been producing hail, but let's just double check that. If it is, it would be in this part of the cell on the northeast side of the 435 loop, just south of Smithville Lake. And Laura, you were mentioning that they saw debris. I was checking the upper level winds from about a mile and up.
Right.
They're blowing between 40 and 80 miles an hour. So they'll take that debris and they'll blow it. The winds are blowing from the southwest to the northeast. So that debris, once it got airborne inside that violent tornado, will be blown forward a long way. So I'm not surprised at all to hear that.
One other thing, Katie, too. Liberty, the city of Liberty said they are not sounding the tornado sirens right now. They just want people to know that. They're just asking people to be weather aware. And as you mentioned, the tornado warning has been lifted, correct?
That is correct. They still have, and I'll double check this, I believe a severe thunderstorm warning because of the potential for wind. But I think that even has weakened quite a bit. Let me bring that graphic up for you. Now, they still do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for southern Platte County and western Clay County. I will check on this for you to see when this is set to expire. Oh, that's going to expire in a minute. We can watch that together, just kind of fall off the map. So, Laura, I think we've seen the worst. Now we just need to, gather together as a community, help those people that have lost structures. Right now, let the first responders do their job.
Absolutely.
And then there will be a way for you to help. Wait for that information. You going to the scene right now is going to cause more problems. I know from personal training when I worked with FEMA and the Kansas Division of Emergency Management, one of the things that always hampers the rescue efforts is when people come that aren't trained. So stay where you are. You really just truly your thoughts and your true concerns for these folks will be needed.
And that's absolutely what the police department's all over, from Lawrence all moving east, tracking this storm. They are asking people to allow police officers to get in and be addressing the 911 calls that are pouring into these jurisdictions, and they are trying to handle them as quickly as they can. But just as you said, it's time now to assess what's happened and go from there. But emergency crews have got to be the first line of defense in cleaning up.
And they've got to be the first ones in neighborhoods, especially on the south side of Lawrence, where we keep seeing photos on social media of neighborhoods that have been damaged. In some cases, some homes appear to have been destroyed. The good news is so far, and it is early in this story, and I can't stress that enough, there have been no reports of any sort of serious injuries right now, whether it's Lawrence, whether it's Pleasant Grove, which of course is where this system hit the first time. There are reports of homes sustaining significant damage, but again, no reports of any injuries there. This is also a storm, as we have been tracking, that sort of breezed by the Kansas Speedway and the Legends. There are no reports of any damage out in western Wyandotte County, at least as of now. There is a report of some more damage in the Lone Star area, which of course, as you guys have been tracking this storm, that was one of the first communities that was really under the gun once it moved into our immediate viewing area. Lawrence, again, seems to be where most of the damage is centered right now, but it is early.
And actually, Chris, I'm looking at Lawrence Police and their Twitter handle, and they said there are large trees, there are power lines, there is debris along roads on the southeastern edge of the city. Some of these roads are impassable, so they said, please do not go sightseeing. As we've mentioned, it only hampers their efforts to try and get into these heavily damaged areas.
And we don't want to forget our friends in the Linwood area right now, where the Northwest Consolidated Fire District has been dispatched there in Leavenworth County on a mutual aid call. Reports of damage, obviously, in the Linwood area, but again, no reports of anybody hurt. Let's hope that continues throughout the night. Guys?
Hoping so, hoping so. You know, I'm allowing our other folks in the field, namely our reporters, as well as Nick Bender and Storm Tracker 9 and Johnny Rollins and News Chopper 9, to gather their information and pass it along as well. So, as a matter of fact, if Johnny is on the horn, let's go to Johnny, and then I'll still try to do a round robin and see what other information is coming in here. Johnny, go ahead.
We'll get a shot for you here real quick, Brian. We're kind of in some rain here, trying to come around on this side and see what we have. So we'll go ahead and uncage the camera there, and off to the west now. Believe it or not, it looks like sunshine out there, but some pretty heavy rain. Shawnee Mission Parkway here coming up to 435, and if we look to the right, we can still see where the storm is moving to the north now. Good signs that it's weakening, but we'll look way to the right, and you can see some torrential rains up there, up into Wyandotte County, just west of downtown airport. Saw some pretty heavy rain as well. Johnny Rollins, News Chopper 9, back to you in the studio.
Okay, what we're looking at there is First Alert Live radar. And the only reason I want to show this is because although this is the storm that produced the tornado for over 2 hours or so, that is moving out. But look at what's on the western horizon. That is a tornado warning west of Maysville, Kansas. A few severe thunderstorm warnings toward Manhattan, and another cluster of thunderstorms south and west of Emporia. So although we don't have any warnings close to the viewing area, we're still not out of the woods yet. Remember, we still have a tornado watch until 10 o'clock, trying to see if there's any redevelopment or not. That was Johnny's assessment. Now let's go to meteorologist Nick Bender, who's in Storm Tracker 9. Nick, go.
Brian, we're in Liberty. I've got intent to go north on 35 to Kearney. I'm starting to see some signs here in the velocities that we're starting to see the rotation begin to slowly intensify. This is going to be about 6 miles northwest of Liberty. Some indication there that this storm may be showing signs of reorganizing, reestablishing a bit of a rotating updraft. This is passing north of Liberty, so that's an all clear for Liberty. But if you're in Kearney, over to Excelsior Springs and Lawson, we need to be very vigilant of this storm. There's no tornado warning on it yet, but the environment is still favorable for rotating thunderstorms and tornadoes along that warm front. So I really hope this isn't trying to spin up again, but if it does, we'll be in the position to spot it for you, Brian. I'll send it back to you.
All right, they're exactly right. So although one has passed us by, that does not mean that the door is totally shut. And that's the other reason I've mentioned that we do have this tornado watch until 10 o'clock. So here is now that circulation north of Liberty. There's Kearney, just to get your bearings, and you can zoom in as much as you like there, Pete. And this is just showing you the same storm that for 2 hours straight has produced the tornado up and down, still has at least some decent rotation associated with it from Glen Eyre to Liberty, then going farther to the east and northeast up toward Kearney itself. I should also mention that at KCI, they have stopped the evacuation process, so hopefully things are going to get close to normal. So that is now a tornado warning for Clay County, as we were talking about, as Nick just gave you that first alert for. We probably need to do a fresh storm track on that.
I have one on 2.
Okay, so on weather 2, if we can, please. This is going to be, and Nick, I want to throw back to you in just 1 second after we do the storm track, give estimated times of arrival. Kearney at 7:54, Lathrop, Missouri at 8:09. This is as it's heading to the east and northeast, so this is the tornado warning now for Clay County, portions of Clay County, certainly not down toward Glen Eyre, not down toward Worlds of Fun, but it is going to include at least a good chunk of real estate, even going farther to the east and northeast toward Clinton County. But right now it is for Clay County. Go ahead, Katie. Go.
I'm just going to say I'm estimating a 30-mile-an-hour wind speeds. I don't have that confirmed, so timing could change.
Okay. So here are the timelines again for Polo at 8:33, Hamilton at 8:45, and New York, Missouri, that is at 8:48. Let me throw it to Nick Bender. Go ahead.
Right.
We'll continue to go.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, we're heading north on Interstate 35. It's going to be tough to get out ahead of this. This is that part of the storm that was showing rotation. This is going to be moving towards Kearney, Mosby, Excelsior Springs. You need to take your tornado precautions right now. The storm is showing signs of rotating, and it could be capable of producing a tornado at any time. The environment remains favorable for additional tornadoes this evening. to the east of this storm. It's the same storm that produced the long track violent tornado from Lawrence all the way to the Speedway, though it's not showing quite the velocities or intensifications it was earlier. We need to respect the warning, respect the ingredients that are in place. You need to take it seriously. If you're along Interstate 35 from Liberty up to Kearney, it's going to be coming over the interstate, moving towards Kearney, Mosby, and Excelsior Springs. Brian, this is going to be tough for me to spot right now because I'm just on the leading edge of the rain. It's going to be hard for me to see it.
Right. So let me handle it here and look at it on radar. And that's, again, why we have the marriage between live people looking at it in the field and something that's almost like an umpire, totally impartial, that being the radar. And here's that rotation that we're looking for, stripping away all the other colors, trying to make it crystal clear for you. Kearney at 7:57, so that's in about 3 or 4 minutes. Please take your tornado precautions seriously. We're talking about putting between you and the outside as many walls as possible, getting to your lowest level possible, protecting your head, facing the wall from the debris. And we've had a lot of it earlier today. You do want to go to that lowest level interior if at all possible. Also make sure you got shoes for everybody. When I'm at home, it's barefoot. But now take them down there with you, even if you have to grab them by your hand and move them down there. And stay in your area until the all clear is given, and that may be a while from this system that's moving through. Mosby at 8:01, Excelsior Springs at 8 minutes past 8, and looking at Crystal Lakes at 8:12. That is, once again, the portion of the storm that the Weather Service is thinking is the most suspect, and that's also what we're showing here on First Alert radar. So that is now a tornado warning out for Clay County that's going to last for a while, as it still looks like spotters. I'm just reading some of the information coming in here, besides material debris coming down, roofing material, that sort of thing. It is one of those storms that still, as Nick was talking about, with a little more re-intensification, and I know he can't get ahead of it quite yet, but he is in a safe area. Nick, let me throw it to you.
Brian, I decided to change my course here. I don't want to try and get up north on Interstate 35. It's going to come over me, and I'm not going to be able to get out ahead of it. We're heading to Mosby. I'm going to try to get to Excelsior Springs, because if this rotation holds, it's actually going to go to Excelsior Springs. So I'm looking at the clouds. I'm looking to the north and west. I'm looking for any signs of localized rotation. I mean, you know this road pretty well. It's kind of tough with a lot of hills here and a lot of trees. So I'm not able to spot it just yet. But from Kearney to Mosby to Excelsior Springs, you need to take your tornado precautions immediately. This is moving north of Liberty. So Liberty, this is moving north of you. This won't affect you. But Kearney, Mosby, Excelsior Springs, Crystal Lake, you need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Brian, back to you.
Okay. Thank you there. I was also trying to see, I know we were getting Kelly Eckerman there in Johnson County, O'Brien Johnson as well. Also, we had Fleener up towards Smithville, which is pretty close to this cell. Not sure if we can establish contact with him, but still trying to get information coming in here. And if you look at this rotation that I have there, notice how it has changed, Pete. You're fine. You can even go a little tighter if you wish. As you see this center that is once again re-intensifying, going back up the scale closer to the yellows. That's where you see it now. There is Northeast 138th Street, so you get your bearings. Here would be, as you're going farther to the east and northeast, the Interstate 35. So this is now east of Interstate 35, between Kearney and Chandler. That's the area of rotation that is still prompting the Weather Service for continuing now a tornado warning, now going out for folks mainly north of the river this time around. It's not really showing many signs of weakening at all, and it goes through a life cycle. Like every once in a while when you jog too much, you got to take a breath, calm down, then you're good to go thereafter. Storms are no different. Every once in a while, they kind of get a little weaker, and then they start to re-intensify. And this is the one that has definitely been on the maps for a while, at least for, 2 hours or so, and it's still continuing. Was that a power flash that you saw there, Nick? I couldn't tell.
Brian, that's what we're trying to figure out. I mean, it was 2 or 3 big bright flashes.
Right.
It looked like it was low to the ground, and that is the part of the storm.
Or is that just lightning?
That's capable of producing the tornado. Yeah, I can't confirm it either way. We'll continue to watch that, Brian.
We'll stay with your picture.
Yeah,
that's lightning. Okay.
That's lightning.
Just making sure.
Pretty sure it's lightning, but that is the direction. That is the direction that the rotation is with the storm. That's going to be coming over Interstate 35 and
Right.
69 highway there, so kind of like sandwiched right in between there, just south of Kearney. So just south of Kearney on Interstate 35 all the way down to 69 highway north and west of Mosby. That's where this storm is showing signs of rotation and where it could produce a tornado. Brian, I'm going to send it back to you. I'm just going to keep my eyes out here to the left.
Okay, thank you there, Nick. And you're going parallel to it, I guess. You're going straight east, so that's good, and that should stay safe with it out to your left side. So, yeah, definitely keep me updated with what is happening there. Sirens are going off in Excelsior Springs right now, partially because of this tornado warning that's in effect until 8:15 for Clay County that's going on there. Did you mention something about Johnny? I'm sorry, the booth. Damage in Linwood.
I'm sorry, Brian.
What's that? Go ahead, Johnny.
Okay, Brian, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're just coming up on some incredible damage here in Linwood. I don't know what this was. Was it a nursery? Yeah, it looks like a nursery, maybe greenhouses. That would explain the extent of damage. We'll go ahead and turn to the left here. We're over 32 Highway and a ton of emergency equipment on the scene here. There's some houses below that have been damaged as well. This looks like it was maybe a couple of 100 yards wide here, not the mile we were talking about before. So we see some, well, come around to the right for me, Patrick, and we're going to show these trees here of houses completely leveled here. So this is where it crossed over just north of the Kansas River, and you can see these houses damaged here. We're going to keep tracking along 32 Highway, and boy, it looks like one house completely off its foundation. Keep going, Patrick, up to the right there, and zoom right there. Completely off its foundation. There's the house. There's the foundation. That gives you an idea of the extent of the velocity of the winds here. To the right, too, Patrick. Go ahead and pull back for me. And then to the right, keep coming right and tilt down a little bit. And there's another house that is completely destroyed. Again, it appears as though it was maybe 100 yards wide at this location. Keep coming back to the left. And 2 or 3 houses completely gone here to the left. There's debris from one house. It's almost completely destroyed. Another leveled. I know we have, the preliminary indication is that no one has been injured here, but boy, seeing these pictures, it's very frightening, and it's going to be hard to believe that we didn't have anybody injured, if not seriously. Nice job, Pat. There you see more houses that have been damaged. Again, this along 32 Highway near Linwood. In fact, this is in Linwood, and also we can see some swirls in the grass there to the left. Come on around that way, and right below us, go ahead and tilt down, and you'll see another house completely destroyed, another next to it that's heavily damaged. 32 Highway is completely shut down here, and it looks like we'll continue to the south and west. Tell you what, we're going to go all the way over to Overbrook, pick up where this tornado first touched down, and follow it all the way over to the end. This is pretty intense and serious damage to these houses, confirming that it was a
Hey,
very,
Johnny,
very,
hate to interrupt you there, my friend. We'll get back to you, but we still have this rotation that's a little tighter with the current tornado warning that's going on. Nick, you were on it. I know you're still trying to get in a better position, but there you see that rotation, which is getting stronger. I'll throw it to you in a second, sir. South of Kearney, that's right now. There's Chandler Road, just so you get your bearings. And right down the path is Mosby. And those are some of the same cities that we've been mentioning for you. Now moving east at about 35. So Excelsior Springs, as Nick told you, getting that safe area. Crystal Lakes at 812. And also Mosby is right on your back doorstep. So once again, this is now the tornado warning that at least shows a little tighter rotation. Nick, what are you seeing? We lost this picture? Okay, that's fine. We'll keep it right here for just a second. Let me know when we reestablish him. And Katie, you looked like there was a debris signature that you were looking at?
I do not see a debris signature on the Kearney storm, but what I was seeing was the debris blowing off of the storm that produced the tornado that Johnny is on. That wind is blowing that over Smithville Lake, and you can clearly see that on the storm debris graphic.
Okay, let me know when we reestablish Nick for a second there. And once again, this is now a tornado warning that is out for Clay County. Funnel cloud being reported partly by spotters as well as meteorologist Nick Bender, who's out in Storm Tracker 9. Part of the reason why the Weather Service has decided to issue that warning that lasts for a little bit longer. And as you notice here, it is not as weak as it was. And as I even told you 5 minutes ago, these storms have a life history. They have a life cycle. Sometimes they get weak, sometimes they get strong. And this one is showing at least some signs of indicating that it's going to stay together and stay up for a while. Not up in the cloud, I mean up as in its intensity for a while. So between Kearney and going down toward Chandler, now it's going farther to the east. It's east of I-35 right now, but now still heading eventually, first alert going out for Greenville, also down toward Crescent Lake and Mosby as well, which is once again in the path of this tornado warning for Clay County. through the 8 o'clock hour, at least a good portion of the 8 o'clock hour. Still looking at some of the reports that are coming in here. Rotation still along Highway 33 and others as well. So this is not necessarily confirmed on the ground, but this has had the history of lasting for 2 hours straight. And usually when you think of a tornado, they're only on the ground for what, 10, 15, 18 minutes max. This one's been on the ground before this happened for about 2.5 hours or so. Because remember, we tracked it close to, that would be Lawrence, Kansas, and now you see about where it is as it's continuing to move through. So there it is, now a tornado warning extending farther to the east toward Rayville. So this is going to cross county line into Ray County as they're extending it now. This will be going in effect until 8:30 this evening for the storm that's moving east at 35. And as you mentioned, Katie, and also Pete, who's on the controls of First Alert Radar, this is it. And remember, last night and earlier today, we're talking about sometimes you'll get a tornado embedded within the line. So it's not going to be as clear cut as it was earlier in the evening, and now it's going to be a little more difficult to see. So within this small little band that you see here is enough of rotation, and as First Alert Live Radar goes around to see the update. And one good thing about First Alert Live Radar, it can update every 90 seconds because it takes about that long, a minute to a minute and a half, to go around one complete circle as opposed to waiting 7 or 8 minutes. So this is going to be good to see exactly how it changes, see exactly how the wind speeds change, and also how it is moving there. So that is now just to the south of Kearney, and as you see, this is now heading toward Excelsior Springs. That is the tornado warning. That will also now go into western portions of Ray County as well. And that lasts until 8:30 or so. So it's because the rotation is still pretty tight and going farther down to the east east and southeast of, say, Kearney. It looks like we've reestablished Nick. Let's go to him.
Yes, Brian, can you get my feet? I got a large rotating wall cloud moving just north of Mosby. If you check the terminal Doppler radar there, it's going to show the rotation more defined than what's coming out of Pleasant Hill right now. This, unfortunately, it's starting to wrap up again. So if you are in Mosby, this looks like this is going to pass just north of you in Mosby, moving toward Excelsior Springs, Excelsior Estates, and Lawson. You need to be in your tornado shelter right now. Behind that Aldi and behind that tree line, turn her a little bit to the right. It's going to be just behind this do not enter sign. I can see the right side of the wall cloud. So that's a pretty big rotating wall cloud that is about 2 to 3 miles to my north and west. And Brian, I really think it's starting to wrap up here on the radar between Kearney and Mosby, right between Kearney and Mosby, moving toward Excelsior Springs, Lawson, Crystal Lake, and Excelsior Estates. I don't want to try to get too specific with where it's going to pass north or south of right now, but this is along the warm front. There was an outflow boundary here earlier. Wind shear is maximized along these boundaries, and these supercells can really ramp up quickly and produce tornadoes again. So we are looking, Brian, back to the west, straight west, a couple of miles over the tree line. That is going to be the part of the storm that's rotating. That's going to be your wall cloud back there in the distance. We're going to watch this real close. Let me switch over here. I want to check. Check Pleasant Hills. Are you seeing any? Wow, Brian, this is really ramped. Brian,
about to go here from the wall. Go ahead, sir.
I think. Hang on, I'm trying to find my button here. Brian, confirmed tornado. I'm going to call this a confirmed tornado. This is going to be north of Mosby, 1.5 miles. I have a very well-defined tornado debris signature. This is no longer radar indicated. This is on the ground. This is a mile. I want to be real specific here. Give me a moment. I'll let you all load it up. Check the correlation coefficient there on links. It's about 2 miles north of Mosby, moving north and east toward Excelsior Springs. This is a confirmed tornado, so now is the time to really take action. Excelsior Springs, Excelsior Estates, unincorporated areas here to the north of Mosby. You need to be in your tornado shelter immediately. Tornado on the ground near Highway 92. It's moving east toward Excelsior Springs. We need to get to Excelsior Springs. Brian, this could produce another large, long-track tornado with the ingredients that we have ahead of this storm. Cloud motion's really starting to ramp up right ahead of us, Brian. Turner, this is going to be off the hood and a little bit to the left. This is going to be back to our south and our west. Cloud motion's pretty violent, Brian. This is probably on the ground right behind the tree line.
That's
Oh,
about
gosh.
2 miles away from
Okay,
Mosby,
yeah,
right?
let's back up.
Yeah, you guys stay safe. Let's take it here and show you that latest storm track. What we have coming up behind me, you putting number 2, yeah, links 2, talking about the debris signatures. See the blues in the middle of the sea of red? That's an indication that there's something, once again, that the radar is picking up and spitting out. And it's not just a raindrop or a hailstone. It is building material. That's where he is. And so north of Mosby, as he said, is that signature that he is seeing. So it's a combination of the radar seeing it, it's a combination of humans seeing it, and it looks like it will continue to at least be the tornado warning that the Weather Service has issued on as it is moving to the east at about 30 or 35 miles an hour. Excelsior Springs, you should be in your safe area. Also Crescent Lake, please, as well. So this is the path of it. You see where Nick is. He's going to try to probably dip south and try to at least stay away from the inflow or that signature that we see right there. But the estimated times of arrival very clear at 8:12 coming through Excelsior, Crystal Lakes at 8:17, and also toward Rayville at about 8:30 or so. So yeah, that's now that same cell that had a history of producing a tornado early on the Kansas side close to Lawrence, and still so many miles away from it, and it's still on the ground 2.5 hours later. So First Alert Live Radar, which is going to be System 1, showing you that if we didn't take some of the other sort of lenses away, you would say, okay, well, it's just a line of thunderstorms, but just embedded within there is where we see the notch, and there is a warm front, and it's that warm front that has the change in wind direction, focusing the energy, and that's exactly what you see happening. This is now the rotation that we're looking at. And so Excelsior Springs, I'm hoping that you will notice that this is not too far away from you. Make sure you're in your safe area, putting as many walls between you and the outside. We'll do a fresh storm track as well in a little bit because it's still now moving east at 20 or 25 miles an hour. And the benefit of our live radar is to be able to update every minute to minute and a half. But if you notice there, it's back in the moderate or medium range of the rotation, not just the green, but it's a little stronger than that. And Katie, I know you have looking at on System 2 with her on cam, you're looking at the velocities or the wind speeds within that storm.
Seeing the signatures on the Doppler, and we're intersecting this storm using the radar that is located just south of Kansas City. So we're intersecting it pretty high in the sky, but it shows a very clear rotation here, at least 63-mile-per-hour winds inbound and about 20 to 30 to 40-mile-an-hour winds outbound, and it's strengthening as we look at it. Good call by meteorologist Nick Bender, who was right under this storm as it produced a wall cloud and then dropped a tornado. If you are in Excelsior Springs, Crystal Lakes, Wood Heights, Vibard, Claysville, Crescent Lake, Greenville, New Garden, you are in the path of this tornado right now. This tornado spotted on the ground by meteorologist Nick Bender in Storm Tracker 9. I have put his placement on this map so you can see he is located less than a mile south and east of the circulation. So he's got a first row view of this tornado. This is the one that is in Clay County. It's associated with a tornado warning that goes until 8:30 as it crosses into Ray County. It's not yet to the border, the county line between Clay and Ray, but it's heading in that direction. Let me put a storm track on this for you. I believe it's moving more east and northeast at approximately 30 miles an hour. 35. Thank you, Bri. Excelsior Springs, 8:13. It's 8:10 right now. You've got no time. Get downstairs right now, lay down, protect your head, protect your body. If you're out ahead of this storm and you have a baby, put your baby in a car seat in your basement. Protect that baby on as many sides as you can. Put whatever you can around your body to protect you from flying debris. You've seen the pictures of the damage, the homes that have been damaged in Kansas when this storm moved in, and now the storm has recycled and is spinning a tornado right now just north of Mosby. I want you to know, Liberty, you're fine. Kearney, you are now okay. The storm is to your east. Missouri City, the storm is not coming towards you, but you may feel a very strong inflow wind coming in from the south. Excelsior Springs, you are in the path of this storm. Polo, I don't think this storm is going to come your way, but Richmond, I want you to keep a close eye. If this tornado takes a right turn, you would then be in the path, but right now it appears that it would cross into central Ray County. Let me give you some streets. This is along Highway 92 just south of Greenville right now. And let me put Nick on there so you can see Nick is on Highway 33. This storm tracking just about a half a mile to his north. Looks like it's getting ready to cross McClary Road and Brunk Road just south of Highway 92 in Claysville. This storm will be crossing over the Ray County line. It is currently, based on the strongest rotation, about 2 miles from the Clay County, Ray County line. So if you're in Ray County and Vibard and Crystal Lakes, know that this storm is headed your way. Nick has spotted a tornado with this storm, and we'll check back with him to see if he still sees it on the ground or if it was a short touchdown. Let me check the correlation coefficient now. It still looks extremely powerful. This tells us that we have tumbling debris in the wind field, something other than rain and hails, and that's why this is a valuable tool. It really pinpoints where this is. That's Highway 92 and Warnell Road, north of Crescent Lake, north of Mosby. The winds aloft are very strong from the southwest to the northeast, so you may see some of this debris fly towards you in Polo, but the tornado itself is moving more east-northeast, Brian.
One more time with the storm track there with the correlation coefficient behind me, so you saw that. So that's the debris. So this is not just a radar indicated tornado. It seems like there is some truth and also ground truth, that is, and also the radar itself kind of going hand in hand with that, as well as some of these storm spots. What's that?
Truth
right.
works.
Yes, it does help. That is very true. Nick, I know you're trying to get to a safe spot where you can kind of see. Let me throw it to you for one quick second. But yeah, your report was relayed to the Weather Service, and we still have that tornado warning out there. Nick, if you're on, go ahead.
Brian, this is going to be behind the line of storms. It's actually behind the rain by quite a bit. So we are going to be able to see this once we take a peek up 69 Highway. This is going to come awful close to Excelsior Springs, and it looks like it's going to go right in between Excelsior Springs and Excelsior Estate and Crystal Lakes. Evidence that this is a strong tornado moving to the east. You need to be in your tornado shelters immediately. Jim, is this 69 Highway? Yeah, this is 69. So I want to just kind of stay here. I need to get a vantage point behind me. So you need to pull over. Brian, I just got really bad visibility right here. You're going to hear me take my mic off real quick. I need to just pop my head out this window.
While you're doing that, it looks like this tornado, according to the National Weather Service, is heading right toward the Excelsior Springs Hospital. I'll repeat that. This tornado is heading right toward the Excelsior Springs Hospital, so they're hoping that people are going to take shelter. The crew and the staff there know exactly what precautions they need to take, but this is a tornado confirmed on the ground, heading toward Excelsior Springs, and now with a beeline heading toward Excelsior Springs Hospital. Nick, if you're back in, I can certainly throw it back to you, but this is still...
Go to me.
Go for it, sure.
This is straight north of us. All right, Brian, this is coming right through our position. This is at about a mile to the north of us. This is northwest of Excelsior Springs. You need to be in your tornado shelters right now. You are looking at the part of the storm that's producing the tornado. It is going to be rain wrapped, so it's not going to be very visible. We're going to have to look for power flashes, which is the tornado going through the utility poles and more than likely snapping them off at the base. Was that a power flash there? That might have been a power flash. North of Excelsior Springs, that was a green flash. If it was lightning, it would have been blue. I think that this is a strong tornado on the ground. Tornado sirens are going off here. That is a pretty strong circulation. It's going to be lifting right into Excelsior Springs. Brian, here's what I'm going to do. I don't have great road options here, and I want to be more of an assistance than spot this storm since we've got it on radar.
Right.
I'm going to let it cross the highway, and then I'm going to go north, and I'm going to look for the damage path and see if anybody needs help in Excelsior Estates, because I think this is going through it right now. I mean, this tornado is causing damage. So we're going to wait, and we're just going to slowly go north on this 69.
Okay, so that was the intersection. Was it 69 and 33? Is that what you said, Katie?
69 and 92 Highway.
92, I'm sorry, 92 is going out of there. So on a path now for Excelsior Springs Estates, and at one time it would look like a portion of the storm is heading toward the hospital itself in Excelsior. So this is once again every bit of medium, if not high rotation that's still showing you there. And that's one of the things we can do with, this is now System 1 behind me, which is great. So Pete, go ahead and go. This is where you saw Nick's position, and this is what he was looking at there. This is now, at least to give you some cross streets, there'd be Fine Street. there would be Bronte Street. This is now 92 just to the north of that cell, and now in the last update it is up there, very close to that intersection that we were referring to. So the rotation is there. This is confirmed on the ground. I think we were seeing some debris signature. Yeah, we still are. So this is not just a radar indicated. This is a combination of the radar seeing it and Nick and other spotters out there. There's that debris that we were referring to, very close to Highway 92. And there you could also see Rainbow Boulevard. So this is very close to between Excelsior Springs and Excelsior Springs Estates. And that is a pretty good indication that this thing is still on the ground. And that's why they've extended the warning to not only include Clay County, but also Ray County as well, going through most of the 8 o'clock hour through about 8:45, at least that's what I remember it going, now east at 25 miles an hour. I'm going to check that expiration time one more time just to make sure.
East at 25?
East at 25, yeah.
Okay.
You want to do a storm track, go right ahead.
Certainly.
So this is until 8:30. This is the tornado 94 8:30. Go for Nick. Nick, what do you got?
Brian, this is going to be crossing the road right ahead of us. This is 69 heading out of Excelsior Springs up to Excelsior Estates. This is going to be coming right over the road. So as it comes over the road, you may see some power flashes. This is approximately 2 miles ahead of us. We're going to get up here to these traffic lights. So we're in the rain on the backside. This tornado is behind the rain. So you're going to get rain and then you're going to get the tornado with the rain. It's going to be very difficult to see this. The only indication that we're going to have from it is the power flashes. And I think you're at a time in Excelsior Springs. It's pretty much right on top of you. It's coming over 69 Highway into Excelsior Springs right now. We're going to just slowly go up here and watch the damage path. Go ahead and just slowly go up here. Don't want to go too fast. Just kind of slowly move your way up. Keep going. Brian, if we have anything, I'll let you know. Just kind of keep me up.
And I would say stay where you are right now.
Highway right now. It's
just to
coming
be on
over
the safe
69
side.
right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we're only going at about 20 miles an hour.
Okay. Definitely, you know, sometimes hopefully will not start to back build or start to occlude. But yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we're going to keep you up. There was a video that came in earlier from when it was very close to Kearney. This coming in from one of our viewers who sent this in via social media. I think that was some of the video that we saw earlier. If you do have it punched up there, you did mention it. And also, Nick, I think we're going to keep your mic hot just in case you do need to interrupt. But there you hear the sirens going off. This was the tornado itself, very close to Kearney, Missouri. So it looks like
Be watching those
there are
lights up
two,
there, those traffic lights.
as I was talking about, including, hey, Nick, I hope you can hear me, possibly 2 tornadoes, one near Excelsior Estates and one near Excelsior Springs. So one west of Excelsior Estates and one near Excelsior Estates. So it looks like there are 2 that we're going to have to be worried about. Just wanted to let you know that.
There are 2. They're both over Excelsior Estates. They look like they're both over Excelsior Estates. One's over the highway, and I think the other one's on the east side of town. I've got a southwest wind at my position, and I am about 1.5 miles south of the west one. I've got a southwest wind.
All right.
Strong southwest wind.
Okay. Appreciate that. So there you see it. It is
And
now.
I've got storm chasers coming up on my rear.
Oh, shoot. I didn't even see him.
Yeah, we got a lot of people out here chasing on this highway. They should not be chasing on this highway. Keep going, Jim. Keep going, Jim. Give me about 25 miles an hour. Keep going. We got a southwest wind. It's coming over the highway up here at about 1.25 miles. We're in a safe spot.
You know, that's another thing I guess we should caution, because there are a lot of folks who want to go out and see and try to leave it to the professionals. Definitely stay off the roads. So this is now a confirmed tornado,
This is
one of
lifting
2
into
of them
Excelsior
actually.
Estates right now.
So there we see Crystal Lakes. You see in the smaller box down in the lower left, the live picture from about where Storm Tracker 9 is located.
There looks like there are 2.
There you
One's coming
see
into Excelsior
the
Estates
rotation
right now.
there of where
Jim,
Nick
give me
is,
35.
and is about ready to cross into Ray County as well. So there you see 2 different individual tornadoes that are heading into that area, and that's why the tornado warning is now out for Clay and Ray counties until 8:30. This is a dangerous and large
an eye
tornado,
on that-
not just
on
a
those
small
lights up there.
rope, not just a small one that you would see like in the Wizard of Oz. This one is a wedge at one time, and if not one, it has a twin with it. So there are 2 that are going through there. Definitely, I'm a little bit distracted to make sure that my crew is safe, and so I know Nick is very adept at storm tracking, but I just want to
you're
make
okay.
sure that
This is
everything is
coming
all
into
right with
Excelsior
him
right now.
although he is behind it, and the other cell is up toward, there'll be Claysville. So that's already across county line into Ray County. So the tornadoes are still out there, and just when you thought, okay, it's over, it's now over the Kansas City metro and weakening, and as we told you, it's going to possibly start to ramp back up, and that's exactly what's going on, although we do have a little more daylight. These are tornadoes on the ground, and what's going to make it even more difficult, Katie, is once we see these tornadoes after dark, and all you can do is rely on power flashes and lightning, that's when it's going to be even more difficult to spot these things. We're going to have to rely more on radar than anything else.
I see indication of debris near Claysville. That's right on the county line between Clay County and Ray County near Excelsior Estates. That's the most obvious circulation that I see, and Nick is just about a half a mile south of that. I'll pull the radar out. Brian, I'm not catching the second rotation clearly on my storm relative velocity from EAX, but as I look at the debris signature, you can see there's several kind of areas.
Scott, come to me. Come to Storm Tracker 9.
Go ahead.
I said, go ahead, Nick.
Hey, this is Nick. I've got debris falling out of the sky here. This is just outside Excelsior Estates. Big lightning flash. It's okay. Keep going. This is falling out behind the tornadic circulation or the tornado. Slowly here. Yeah, I've got. It looks like it's not all vegetation. It's not all leaves. It's hard to tell, but it does look like it might be some type of building equipment, shingles. Keep going here. Just look for any homes that might have been hit that we can help. We're coming up into Excelsior Estates. I still got power here, but I do have debris coming down out of the sky. Small pieces. A lot of it looks to be like tree branches, tree limbs, leaves, that type of thing. But I did see what looked to be like shingles that might be from the homes that are here to the west of the highway. It doesn't look as strong anymore on radar, on velocity. Is there damage to the power lines here? Well, let's just be careful we don't drive over any power lines. But Brian, yeah, this did definitely do damage. I mean, that matches up with what we saw on the radar. I'm looking around here. Everything appears to be intact. I can't tell. What is this up here? Is this just leaning because it's an old...
No, it's not leaning.
No, okay. All right, Brian, we continue just a heavy rain here back now behind the line. Everything appears to be okay right now. It's tough to tell. That debris probably came to my west. But it definitely, you want to let the Weather Service probably know the type of debris, the size of debris that was falling. There's a lot of that that's over the highway here coming up into Excelsior Estates. Small pieces of tree limbs, shingles, that type of thing, Brian. That's just evidence that there was a tornado here.
There we go. And again, it's had the history for a while now, unfortunately, causing it to go through its life cycle. And now it's moving farther east of the Kansas City metro and now heading from Clay County into Ray County. But as mentioned, if you're starting to see shingles and other building material falling from the sky, that's evidence that there was a touchdown at one time. So Storm Tracker, you see his position there, and you also see some of the other rotation that's still showing up by our radar system. So this is now the current location of Storm Tracker. As a matter of fact, let's live up to its name. Let's do a first alert storm track to let other communities know where it's going to be heading. Still think that we're going to use the vector of east at 25 or a little bit. Let's go a little bit east, northeast, just a little bit. That's Pete on the controls, right? Yeah, because this is our system 1. So Pete, put whatever sort of parameter you want to put behind me, but let's go just a little bit north of 90, so maybe about 80 or 70 degrees and see what happens there. At about 30 miles an hour. So this is, as we're looking here, the storm tracker is back this way. There's Crystal Lakes. This is the rotation that has been evident for a while, still with the tornado warning that's been there and lasting until 8:30, so another 4 minutes or so. Still no indication that it's loosening its grip, no indication that it's weakening. But as we put that storm track on, it's still going to be heading through Ray County now, moving across county line as well. And if it is continuing to hold together, there are going to be some other areas that are more susceptible to more damage and the possibility of, well, this signature that's going out there. The gate-to-gate shear in plain English terms. The winds still showing evidence of about every bit of 50 or 60 miles per hour or more. Brevard, you are within this tornado warning, as is Lawson, just to name some other cities, Crystal Lakes as well. But as it's moving east and northeast at about 20 or 25 miles an hour, that's going to put it on a direct path going through almost the center of Ray County. And although that is a warning that stays in effect until 8:30, I'm still looking out the corner of my eye to see if they're going to expire it. And right now at 8:26, it looks like they are, as most of at least the rotation, not as tight as it was, but obviously something we're going to continue to watch and to monitor. What you're seeing in the window below me is some of the damage that was occurring. The location again, please, was that Lawrence, Kansas. So there you see where the system started and where it is currently. We'll continue to watch those pictures. I want to throw to the anchors just one quick second if I can. That way I can gather some more information on this latest storm track and gather some reports coming in from the spotters on this latest tornado warning, which is going to expire at 8:30 or so. Chris, Laura?
Clay County Sheriff's deputies just tweeting storm damage is being reported east of Kearney. No injuries reported. That's about as specific as they are getting right now.
And you know, Nick showed you that there's obviously going to be debris and everything in that area of Clay County around Excelsior Springs and Kearney. But what you are looking at is Lawrence, specifically south of Lawrence. We do know that emergency management is on the scene. At this point, we don't have any reports of injuries, but it is still early on from this tornado that has just been so destructive of this area. Homes have been flattened. We do know that Highway 59, there's a semi overturn that's near East 1300 Road. KDOT is turning people around there. It is a parking lot in that area. We also know that the Kansas National Guard will be positioning several vehicles and personnel at KU Park and Ride near Clinton Parkway in Iowa. Those vehicles are there and they are going to be dispersed as needed all over the storm-related area.
One more thing in Lawrence, the American Red Cross is planning on opening up a shelter at 9 tonight at the First Church of the Nazarene at 1470 North 1000 Road. Again, this is in the Lawrence area in Douglas County. The American Red Cross opening up a shelter at 9 tonight, the First Church of the Nazarene on North 1000 Road. Brian?
Yep, so I'm looking at First Alert Live radar, and Pete, I think you're at the controls of that. One thing that I was just noticing, and that's again why we're not out of the woods quite yet. Pete, if you can widen it out even more, maybe change to more of a regional view, because we're looking farther to the south and to the southwest, because there are a couple of other thunderstorms that are showing up. This is another tornado warning that was issued right in there from the Topeka National Weather Service office, a little farther, there you go. And this is now radar indicated, but this is still, believe it or not, although the atmosphere has been worked over, there's another line of at least severe thunderstorm warnings and even tornado warnings. All that to say that if they hold together and if they continue to move in a north and northeast fashion, that would put it right in line with the Kansas City Metro again after 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock tonight. So although we still have one or two that are close to the metro itself, that's this pocket that you see here. This is the one that produced the tornado for 2 hours plus, producing and generating many different tornado warnings. There's another line that's just now starting to form from Marysville down through Manhattan and going farther west of Emporia. More damage reports coming in. I think that's from Lawrence as well. That's some of the damage from when this tornado started. And radar estimates put the winds over 100 miles an hour. And as you saw from Johnny's pictures earlier, as far as Linwood, Kansas, showing you, I think that was as he was talking about a greenhouse. And even I know there's a solar farm out that way as well. Significant damage, houses off their foundations. Mercifully, knock on wood, no injuries or no deaths reported yet, but a lot of property damage still is the case, unfortunate but true. And as a result, we still are worried and still under the gun since we have this tornado watch that stays in effect until 10 o'clock. So severe thunderstorm warning out for Maryville up toward the Iowa state line. Tornadoes, the potential of which still out to the west, right along this line from Marysville, west of Manhattan, going down toward Emporia as well. See if Nick Bender is back in position to throw it to him for just 1 second if we can. Nick.
I gotcha. Hey, Brian, this line of thunderstorms is moving to the east, and we're not going to be able to keep up with it. We've chased there many times. Road options are poor, and the storm is moving fast. We did get reports of damage back here in Excelsior Estates, and I think we're pretty close to it. Jim, yeah, you're pointing your finger. Keep going. No, keep going. You want to take a left here at Jesse James Road. It's going to see where all those vehicles are up there. Yeah, we'll take a left there. We're going to move back here into south of Excelsior Estates and Excelsior Springs, where we brought the tornado through, tracked the tornado through, and see if there's any damage. See if there's any damage in here, Brian. When we get to the area that I think there is, because we've got firefighters, first responders that are rolling out here out of the hospital. So there may have been damage up there along the path. So we're going to kind of work our way around through here, Brian. We'll send it back to you.
Thank you so much. And right now, there you see once again as he is maneuvering through, and there are numerous damage reports, a lot of debris, a lot of power outages, and now we have to worry about heavy rain, because once again, these have had a history of producing heavy rain in addition to damaging winds, damaging hail, and the tornado threat that's been out there, and confirmed tornadoes on the ground, more than just one. So looking at First Alert Live radar with the Excelsior Springs tornado in our rear view mirror, but farther to the west toward Maryville, Manhattan, and Emporia, that's the next line of thunderstorms that's going to be moving through. Right now, out of the viewing area, but still about ready to converge on that. Estimated time of arrival on the western half of the region, probably about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Right now, though, as of 8:30, that tornado warning has been allowed to expire, and I've not seen any reports of hail quite yet. But we are still gathering some information, still looking at some of the storm spotter reports that are coming in here, and certainly going to update that part of the story. Power outages have been a problem, and of course, there are a lot of ponding on the roads, a lot of flooded roads as well. And so we still have to worry about a lot more severe weather. Tornado watch stays in effect until 10 o'clock. Brief second, if I can throw it over to Chris and Laura for just 1 minute, and let me start to look at some of those reports and get right back.
Sure. Lawrence Police, again, we're focusing on Douglas County and Lawrence, where it appears as if there's been quite a bit of damage as a result of this tornado tonight. Lawrence Police tweeting just moments ago, most structural damage appears to have occurred near Lawrence as the tornado passed just outside the city limits. We are not finding any major structural damage within city limits, but trees are down, power lines are down, there's debris along streets, especially on the southeast edge of the city. Some of these streets in Lawrence are impassable, so Lawrence Police, please asking people not to go sightseeing. This is not the time or the place for that tonight.
And as we mentioned, it seems as though emergency crews are maybe stationing in Lawrence, and then they are going to be dispersed elsewhere, because we know in some of the rural areas, especially around East 1300 Road, 1500 Road, south and east of Lawrence has been hit very hard. So everyone's trying to get organized, these emergency crews, and head out. You look at these pictures right now from News Chopper 9, and there's just tremendous damage and flooding. That is, and I'm not sure where Johnny is right now, but you can.
This is Lawrence right now?
He is in Lawrence. And you can see all along the highway, there are vehicles just stopped completely.
Hey, Johnny Rowland's up in News Chopper 9. Maybe you can give us a little better idea of where you are right now there in Douglas County.
We are going to be a couple of miles to the east of Lawrence, probably 3 or 4 miles east of Lawrence now, and taking a look at some of the damage here. Look at the trees down, uprooted totally. There is one to the right, used to be a house there where the white pickup is. We'll go ahead and zoom in. The house to the left doesn't seem to see too much damage at all. Got to tell you, I was completely turned around when we were trying to stay out in front of this tornado, as we thought it was much closer to Lawrence than it was. In fact, I think I even referred to that at one point, but it is pretty far to the south and east of Lawrence, all the damage that we have seen so far, and this is just some of it. Many houses that are completely off their foundations, some new houses that look like a couple of subdivisions on the south and well, from the southwest to the southeast side of Lawrence. This a more rural area. I think that's the old K10 that we have right here as well. And Pat, let's go ahead and pull back from that, and we're going to go up and to the left a little bit and show you some more damage on what appears to be maybe a farmhouse up here. Keep going over to the left there. Look at the trees down across the road, completely blocking the road. Some structural damage over here. It looks like, yeah, maybe several additions to a house here, and then across the street another house hit too. I'm going to kind of throw you a curve here, Pat. I'm going to fly right over this, and then I want you to pull back and kind of look behind us as we have two houses that are completely demolished here as well. Go ahead and pull back and tilt down now, and back to the right. Yeah, look at those. Zoom in on those for me. And again, this a rural part of Douglas County. I believe we're still in Douglas County. It is not too far from here that we're going to be at Linwood. We'll be there in just a minute. That's where we see, well, we witnessed the tornado pretty much engulf, swallow up the small city of Linwood, and that's where we saw a lot of power flashes. Pat, come around to the front here and pull back again, and we'll show this house almost completely leveled. Pardon us as we do some stuff on the fly here. And oops, a little too far. Pull back and to the right, and there you go. You're going to see an SUV. Actually, it looks like an RV on its side, an outbuilding.
All right, so we have lost Johnny momentarily. We'll get right back to him. He's in the rural areas just to the east of Lawrence. Johnny, have we got you back?
Yeah, this again, another example of some of the damage we've been seeing. You see power lines down as well. We'll tilt down a little. It looks like a trailer, maybe a car overturned here. Is that going to be a car overturned, or what was that? Maybe a boat? Yeah, it looks like a boat. So a couple of boats turned over there. So again, in this rural part to the about 3 miles, maybe 4 miles to the east of Lawrence, a lot of damage here. And we'll pan to the right, and you can see the power lines down here too. Tilt down for me, Pat. There you go. And you can see those power lines down. They have blocked these roads where the power lines are down this evening, as they should have. And you got to think that they're running out of first responders. We've seen first responders almost everywhere we've gone, and I'm thinking at some point they have to be overwhelmed with what we are seeing here. We're going to cruise on up to Linwood and show you the damage there here in a couple of minutes, and it is extensive. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Johnny, thank you. We'll talk to you when you get there. We do want to throw to a story that Brian Johnson just filed with us. He is in Lawrence, and he is amongst the damage.
We've just made it on the ground here in South Lawrence where this tornado came through, and we're seeing the damage firsthand for ourselves. This is where the Harrell family lived. They tell us this was 2 stories with a roof, and you can see that second story is completely gone. The roof is gone. The trees all around their home are all lopped off by the massive winds that came through here. They said that they just found their second cat that was missing. So that's the good news, is everyone here is okay. They're all safe. They said thanks to all of the forewarnings, they had about 15 to 20 minutes to get out. They felt that their home wasn't safe when these winds came through, and so they went to a parking garage not far from here, about 5 or 10 minutes away. And then once the tornado came through and continued, they came back, and this is what they found. You can see parts of the inside of their home are all over their front, back, and side yards. We talked with the son and the mother who lived here, obviously very shaken, very grateful to be alive. They're thankful to everyone who helped get the first alert out, and to the National Weather Service for those warnings, because that is what they credit for saving their lives tonight and saving the lives of their many pets. Several of their animals were very wet, and you can tell that there's a lot of anxiety as they're getting ready to leave here. There's power lines are on the ground here in Lawrence. Power is out. Street signs are damaged. We've seen cars on the road. We're going to continue to gather more information, and we'll bring it to you as soon as we learn it. That's the latest in Lawrence. Brian Johnson, KMBC 9 News.
Now, here in the city, let's go ahead and show you some video there in that lower left-hand corner of your screen, that box. This is westbound 70 at the Benton Curve, where apparently the scene of a jackknife semi within the last few moments. As you can see, one lane of traffic getting by, but the backup, I'm sure, back into downtown at this point. Again, westbound 70, the Benton Curve there on the east side. Let's go back to News Chopper 9's Johnny Rollins. Johnny.
Yeah, we are north of Eudora here and looking at some damage here, trees across the railroad tracks. A lot of trees down here. We went north of Eudora. We want to show you Linwood here, but we're seeing a lot of flashing lights down in Eudora, and I got to tell you, trying to sort through up here where all this damage is, and it just doesn't, for some reason, this just doesn't seem to be the track that we were ahead of. I'm sure that there was only one tornado track here, and I know Nick was talking about possibly 2 on the other. Let's go ahead and tilt down. We're going to show the damage to the trees here. Back behind us, about a mile or so, was the heaviest, or was the widest I saw as far as the damage was concerned through the trees, and that had to be about a half mile or so. At one point, we were estimating this could have been as wide as a mile or so, but it does not. I have not seen any evidence of that. So we're going to go ahead, pull back, and swing around to the front of News Chopper 9, where you will see the flashing lights of a ton of first responders as we come up to Linwood. I believe this is going to be the small town of Linwood, and you can see that the 32 highway here, I believe it is, completely shut down. Now they have kind of a convoy of first responders. I'm hoping they're not transporting injured people. It is hard to believe. And Pat, let's go to down to the right there for me, and let's show those houses that are completely a little further right, and tilt up. It's hard to believe that we didn't have any serious injuries when you see damage like that as we zoom in on this, and you can see those houses completely destroyed. We'll pull back and just kind of continue following this, Pat, down as you come down just a little bit, and we'll see more houses damaged. Now, one thing we're noticing is that some of the houses have been completely destroyed, but a lot of damage to just the roofs of buildings, that indicating maybe the tornado not quite as strong as it came through here. We're going to pan to the left and show you some more damage. A couple of other houses here as we continue right there, and looks like an outbuilding there, damage to the roof. We'll pull back and see a very heavily damaged home here. We'll tilt down just a little bit there and see that there is just not much left of that house at all. Certainly the second floor completely gone, and a lot of damage. Looks like the garage, just the foundation of that left. And we'll pull back and then tilt up a little bit and to the left, and this is where we saw, of course, the tornado at its fiercest, perhaps, crossing 32 highway. We'll go up and further to the left. You're going to see one house completely destroyed. There's one damage to the upper right, and to the upper left, about the center of the screen. Well, there's one right below us as well, but go ahead and zoom in on those, Pat, and you can see that nothing left of that house, just crumbled completely. And then another house across this road, destroyed down to the foundation pretty much. Maybe a few walls are left, and just imagine what the people inside of that house went through as this tornado was coming through. Again, can't make an estimate on this. I'm thinking at least an EF2, probably an EF3. Leave it to the experts from the National Weather Service who come in and assess the damage based upon the structures and how much damage was done to what kind of structure. We'll also go up the road just a little bit here, and I want to show one more thing, and go ahead and pan over to the left, Patrick. You can see here the trees heavily damaged, and it is, I don't know what greenhouse this was that we're coming up on, but it is pretty much destroyed. Now, of course, we know that they have those frames with plastic over them to, I guess, the hothouse effect for whatever plants they may have had there, and I do have the tower in sight. It is what? 3 Straight Growers Inc., we believe. We just looked that up, and yeah, totally destroyed. Not much at all as far as even the bigger buildings there. Tilt down for me, Pat. Even the bigger buildings not seen much in the way.
All right, so
this total loss. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, this business a total loss, and more damage across the street here. It looks like the city turned to the left. I believe those were some outlying homes, and perhaps not. They might have been in the city of Linwood. Let's come around to the left, but I believe right here that would be the city of Linwood is pretty unscathed here. Maybe a little bit of damage, a couple of trees down, but it's just to the west of that where we see all the heavy damage. I just remember the eerie feeling as we watched this tornado just come and completely engulf those houses, and saw all the power flashes, a lot of power flashes, and then nothing. And you knew the power lines were down, the damage was done, the power was off. And boy, from that moment on, a wild ride for the people inside those homes. Hopefully, thankfully, no injuries reported. We hope it stays that way. Seeing these pictures, hard to believe We do know that we had the opportunity to get the early warning out. By the time the tornado was here, we had already been able to identify, even though it was rain wrapped, a couple of times it revealed itself and how powerful it was. And of course, those pictures, Nick as well, the radar in the studio, all of those designed to give you all the best possible advance warning. And hopefully we were successful in that tonight. And we will continue to hear that there weren't any injuries, none serious at least, and no one fatally injured. Back to you guys.
All right, Johnny, we do have reports of injuries. There are victims that are showing up at Lawrence Memorial Hospital, which is somewhat of an indication that at least they were able to get to Lawrence Memorial Hospital. And so the numbers vary. We're not sure. We know that there are a number of people, but Lawrence Memorial is taking care of those folks. We did tell you about Highway 59 being shut down because of a semi overturned there. KDOT just said 59 Highway is back open tonight, but again, south of Lawrence, the damage is just tremendous tonight. So if you don't need to go in that area, you are asked by emergency vehicles and emergency management to not go in that area because some of those homes are just
the city, and so we still have the potential for flooding to worry about as well. But here's the heaviest that's going through, and the reason we bring this up is it looks like that's going to once again affect us. Let me turn off this little update here that's coming through on my phone. But there's the heaviest of the rainfall and the thunderstorms that are rolling through. Still have the potential for damaging winds, damaging hail, and because we still have a warm front that's pretty much cutting the viewing area in half, we can still see one of these guys lodge onto the front, and those will usually
just a little bit too far to the north. Look at what it did to the trees here too. Yeah, several houses here as we come around still to the left, and it looks like across the street here, Pat, right there and tilt up a little bit by that pond. Looks like a house completely destroyed there as well. So the damage from this tornado, this long track tornado, extensive. Pull back, we're going to see another house that's gone here. Tilt up a little bit, you'll see that house gone. To the left, I'm sorry, Patrick, to the left a little bit, right there. Zoom in on that one. Starting to lose daylight here. But as I said, this appears to be where the tornado, at least from the track we've seen, and we followed it all the way from Overbrook, by the way, which is pretty far to the south and west of Lawrence. And it started very weak there, and as it's gotten farther
Picture's worth 1,000 words there, Johnny, so it's not just radar indicator.
637, continuing into southern Leavenworth County. That's when it hit Linwood, right around 640. Right there, you can see the intense hit Linwood, right around 640. Right there, you can see the intense rotation with that storm, the bright green, the bright red. Then it continued over towards Bonner Springs. Then it entered Wyandotte County. It's when it came up to I-70. As it approached 435 and I-70 at the Speedway, it weakened somewhat. In a weakened state, it moved over the 435 area of Kansas City. It moved over Parkville, the National, continued over towards Gladstone in a weakened state. And then just on the east side of Liberty, it re-strengthened again into another tornado, maybe even two tornadoes by Excelsior Estates at 8:15 before weakening. It takes us through this storm, Brian. Once again, I'll show you that storm path. The National Weather Service will go in and analyze just how strong this storm was, but based on the damage we're seeing, this is certainly one of the most significant tornadoes we have seen in the Kansas City area.
Agreed there, Katie, absolutely. And this is not just a one-time rope tornado. This has been for a while, and still the damage is significant that's going through. Johnny's still circling there with the damage that's coming through. Storm Tracker 9 is also up toward Clay County. So we have both sides of state line covered. Johnny, let me throw it back to you because you're over a different neighborhood.
keep going to the left. Yeah. I'm sorry, did you throw it to me, Brian?
We did, sir, yep.
Yeah, okay, here we go. We are around our exact coordinates here in a minute, but we just came across a couple of houses that were completely destroyed. Let's go ahead and pull back, Pat, and it's going to be right. Houses that were completely destroyed. Let's go ahead and pull back, Pat, and it's going to be right there to the right. And look at those houses right there. Unbelievable. The damage done here. As you can see, it is starting to get light. I should say dark. We're losing our light. There to the left, then another one here to the right.